Hey guys, hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So today in this particular video we are going to take 10 tricky questions from NMR spectroscopy. Basically I'll be taking organic NMR spectroscopy, that means questions regarding your like structure deduction from the NMR data. Those type of question we are going to take. Also we are going to take those questions in which we have to find out the number of NMR signals, and also some of them where we have to justify that what signal correspond to which carbon or which hydrogen. Okay, so that's what is going to be. I'll also make a separate video for NMR spectroscopy of inorganic molecules, right? So that will be discussed in a separate video. For this video we'll stick to the organic portion, that means structure deduction and all those things which I have discussed. So that's how this video is going to be. Before starting this video, let me just inform you regarding my classes on Unacademy. So I teach live on Unacademy Plus as well. My classes right now are running over there. I'm taking revision classes for CSIRNet batch, and soon for the next batch of CSIRNet the new classes are going to be started over there. So do check out my profile. All the details are there in the description of this video. Having said that, without wasting much time, let's start with the video. Alright guys, let's talk about this particular question which was asked in CSIR December 2019. The question was a 2-marker question, but yet it was a very nice question. It says that the correct match of carbon 13 NMR chemical shift for the pyridine is, the pyridine molecule is given to you, carbons are numbered over here as 2, 3 and 4. You have to tell that which of them correspond to the chemical shift value of that. So there are two things which you have to look for. The first thing is for the resonance of the pyridine ring. Okay, so if you have a pyridine molecule as this, so if you want to see the resonance in it, so how does the resonance happens? So this bond shifts over here because nitrogen being more electronegative. So in that particular case, your nitrogen is going to have a negative charge over here and a positive charge will generate on this particular carbon. The next thing which can happen is shifting of this particular bond, and the next structure which you will have is going to be something like this. Nitrogen going to have a negative charge, double bond here and a positive charge here. So if you can match it from the given reference molecule, you can see at the second position and at the fourth position we are getting positive charge. Positive charge means electron deficient center. That means here on this particular carbon the hydrogen cannot be shielded, it is de-shielded. Okay, so the hydrogen remains de-shielded. Okay, it remains de-shielded at 2 and 4th. Okay, 2 and 4th way it will remain de-shielded, whereas it remains shielded at 3rd. Okay, at carbon number 3. Now if the hydrogen is de-shielded, it gives you a chemical shift more downfield. Okay, it gives you chemical shift more downfield, and if it is more downfield, that means more higher value of chemical shift. Okay, higher value of chemical shift. So that means at carbon number 2 and 4 you should get more higher value of chemical shift compared to the third one. So that you can see is there in option number 1. At carbon number 2 and carbon number 4 you are getting higher value of chemical shift than third, and same you are getting in third also, you are getting higher value of chemical shift in carbon 2 and 4 than carbon number third. So you can simply cancel out your option number 2 and option number 4. Now you have to look for option number 1 and 3 and you have to analyze now. So after the formation of this negative charge, you have seen ki this nitrogen right now it is right now we have just seen the resonance effect. The second effect which can happen is the inductive effect, and due to that inductive effect what will happen, that this nitrogen being more electronegative, it will attract more hydrogens more electrons from this particular carbon towards itself, making this particular position more de-shielded. More de-shielded means the chemical shift of the hydrogen on this carbon is going to be more downfield, and that means more higher value. Okay, why? Because you know inductive effect is distance oriented effect. So if you go away from this nitrogen, that means at carbon number 4, here also the inductive effect will be there, but the effect will be weaker. So it won't be able to attract that much electrons from here, it won't be able to make this carbon that much electron deficient. So at this particular position, at position number 4, de-shielding will be there, but not as much as it is there on position number 2. So what we can interpret from here, that the carbon, or basically the carbon at position number 2 is going to be more downfield as compared to the carbon at like the carbon at position 4. More downfield means having higher chemical shift value. So option number 3 is correct, where the carbon number 2 has highest chemical shift value than carbon number 4, and the least chemical shift value is for carbon number 3. Okay, so it's just based upon the de-shielding and shielding effect of your of the respective carbon. Alright, so I hope this is much clear to you. Let's go for the next question then. Alright guys, let's talk about this particular question over here, which was asked in CSIR December 2019 exam, and this question was asked for 4 marks in the exam. The question says that the structure of the compound which displays the following spectral data is, the IR data was given to you as 1690 and 1100 centimeter inverse, and the proton NMRs were given to you. Now see, whenever the question is given like this, where you have both the IR data and the NMR data, it's actually very beneficial for you. IR data will help you to find out the functional group. Okay, so you'll be able to find out that which functional group actually they are talking about, and the NMR data will try to evaluate or try to justify the answer. Okay, so that's how you have to focus on these types of questions. Now here if you see, the IR data is given to you as 1690 and 1100 centimeter inverse. If you look upon the options over here, so in the first option, the functional group which you have is the ester group. Same goes for option number 2. So in 2 options you have ester as the functional group. In option number 3 you have ketone, basically a conjugated ketone as the functional group, and in the 4th one also you have ketone. So this IR is going to help you to cancel out some of the options. Now you know that for esters, okay, for esters group your IR data is around 1750 centimeter inverse. That's the range for the IR data. Now here the IR value is too less than the specified values, or these are basically the carbonyl frequencies of esters group, right? So you can simply cancel out option 1 and 2 because it does not belong to them, right? So 1690 basically belong to a conjugated ketone or alpha beta unsaturated ketone. Okay, so 1690 centimeter inverse in your IR tells you about your like alpha beta unsaturated ketone, which is there in option number 3 and option number 4 both, right? The 100 and like 1100 centimeter inverse is basically about your carbon oxygen stretching frequency. Okay, this is carbon oxygen, like carbon oxygen single bond stretching frequency. So this particular thing is helping you to find out that this belongs to this carbon oxygen single bond. Okay, so now simply you have cancelled out option 1 and 2. Now you just have to look for option 3 and 4 based upon NMR data. You can easily answer it. Now if you go for the NMR data, you see that how many peaks you are getting in NMR: 1, 2, 3 and 4 peaks, right? There are 4 different peaks for the NMR data. Now look for the options, option number 3 and 4. In option number 3 you will get, like, because you have methyl group over here, so this is of hydrogen of type A, let's say. Here you have 2 hydrogens, so these will be equivalent. So this is also of type B, this is also of type B, so you got second type of hydrogen. Here also you have hydrogen, so this is of type C, this is also of type C, so you got third type of hydrogen, and this is also methyl group, so here you got the fourth type of hydrogen. So in option number C you have got 4 types of hydrogen. Let's look upon option number 4th. So in option number 4th you have methyl group over here, so this is, let's say, hydrogen of type A. Then here you have hydrogen, so this is hydrogen of type B. Now you do not have equivalent hydrogens over here because the chemical environments are different, right? So this particular hydrogen will be of hydrogen of type C, this hydrogen will be hydrogen of type D, this hydrogen will be hydrogen of type E, and this methyl group is going to be hydrogen of type F. So total 6 types of hydrogen you got in this case, whereas in this options you were, in this option number 3 you were only getting 4 types of hydrogen. So simply going with the options or going with the NMR data which is given to you, you can easily say that your correct answer is your option number 3. Okay, or option number C is the correct option for the given question. Now if you want to justify the values, that you can do very easily. So see this particular thing, you have got 3 hydrogen singlet, 3 hydrogen singlet, that belongs to this methyl group and this methyl group. You have to look for the higher value, that is 3.8. That is because of the group which is directly attached to electronegative group, there these protons will become little de-shielded, and that's why they will give you little like downfield values. So that's why 3.8 and 3 hydrogen singlet is because of this methyl group, whereas 2.8 and 3 hydrogen singlet is because of this methyl group. Talking about these two, so they are coupled with each other, that is telling you about the that the group is actually, this is called as orthocoupling, and the groups are actually para substituted in the molecule. Okay, so whenever you get J is equals to 8 hertz and you get 2 hydrogen and 2 hydrogen doublet, then always remember that in those type of molecule, like in those types of compounds, your overall molecule is para substituted, which is over here. Now if you look for the chemical shift, so the oxygen is going to make higher electron like electron density along its ortho positions, so making these hydrogens like de-shielded, and that's why they are, sorry, these hydrogens shielded, and that's why they are going to give you value little upfield. So this is going to give you at 6.9 and this is going to give you at 7.8. okay, same goes for this 7.8 and 6.9. so this is how you have to evaluate the whole molecule, and that's how you can go for the correct option without getting confused with it. Alright, so let's look upon the next option now. Alright guys, let's look upon this particular question which was asked in CSIR June 2019 exam, and the question says that the reaction of styrene which is PHCH double bond CH2 with HBr gives you a mixture of regioisomers A and B, where A is major and B is minor. The proton NMR spectrum of the mixture shows 4 signals at these values, that is 5.17, 3.53, 3.15 and 2.0 ppm with the relative integration of 2:1:1:6. okay, that's the value given to you. The molar ratio of A and B is being asked. So first of all you have to look for the reaction and what are the products. Alright, so this is basically like a PHCH double bond CH2 is going to be this. Okay, this is your styrene, and when you are treating it with HBr, so there are possibilities of 2 products which can be formed. The first one which will be there will be formed through the formation of the more stable carbocation, and that is going to be your this. Okay, this is going to be your major, or this is going to be your A, whereas the other one will be the one which will be formed with through the less stable carbocation, and that's going to be Br. okay, so that's what you have. So this is minor and this is your compound B. Alright, now you have to look for, because they are just talking about the hydrogens on these groups. Okay, so they are talking about the chemical shifts of that. So it's pretty simple to approach these questions. Okay, a similar question was asked earlier in 2015 June exam, so do check that out also. That was much easier over there, but here they have complicated it with 2 different molecules. But yeah, so let's try to look for them. Okay, they are asking that what is the molar ratio of A and B. Alright, so if I just talk about the protons of A and B, so if I talk about A and B, so the protons of A are like, I have 1 and 3 protons. Okay, that's what I have, and for second I have 2 and 2 protons. Okay, so I have 2 protons and 2 protons like this. So the intensity ratio, if the molars, if the solution is equimolar, if the solution is equimolar, okay, that means I am just taking 1 mole of both of them. In that case I will be having both of them like this. So now let's try to assign chemical shifts to these hydrogens, okay, these protons. So if you talk about this hydrogen which is attached to phenyl group as well as bromine group, both of them will try to de-shield this hydrogen and making the chemical shift to downfield for this. So that's why the chemical shift for this is will come out around 5.17 ppm. Alright, when I talk about these over here, so for this CH2 which is quite away from the phenyl ring, but it's quite near to the bromine, so it will have the next highest chemical shift, that is 3.53, looking at the higher electronegativity of bromine. So it is going to de-shield this, making it 3.53. This methyl group or this CH2 group being attached to a phenyl ring is again going to behave as an electronegative part for this, making this particular CH2 de-shielded, and that's why, or these hydrogens de-shielded, so that's why its value will be 3.15. Talking about this methyl group, so it will be like 2.0. So I'll just write down here. So one hydrogen correspond to the chemical shift of 5.17 ppm, whereas 3 hydrogens here correspond to the chemical shift of 2.0. Now if you see, you have this as 3.15, 2 hydrogens are here which correspond to this, and 2 hydrogen here again correspond to 3.53. Now once we have assigned the chemical shift, the next part is quite easy to approach here. Now you see this in the ratio, in the intensity ratio, this 6 you are getting for this 2 ppm, right, because these are like relative integration is given to you. So 2 ppm means they are talking about this chemical shift, so you have to make it 6 times. How you can make it 6 times? By multiplying it with 2, right, by multiplying this whole with 2. So if you do that, what you are going to get is, you are going to get it as, like, if I just multiply this ratio, so it becomes 2 is to 6, okay, that's what I got, and here it remains 2 is to 2. Did I got the required integration? So although I got 2 and 6, but here it is 1 and 1, so I have to make this thing twice of that, okay. So again I can multiply this value with 2 again, okay. So I have multiplied with 2 here, okay, and again I am going to multiply with 2. So basically I am going to make it 4 and 12 and 2 and 2. So when I cancel out all of them, the integration ratio becomes like 2 is to 6 is to 1 is to 1, okay. So overall integration ratio comes out to be the value which is given to me, 2116. Alright, so in this particular process, how many times did I multiply it? So I multiplied 4 times. So the molar ratio for A is actually 4 moles corresponding to B, which is just 1 mole right now, okay. I have not multiplied anything with the number of moles of B, so it remained just 1 mole. Here I have made it 2 times, I have multiplied 2 times, so that's why it became 4 mole. Now if I just arrange the chemical shift according to, sorry, I arrange the ratios corresponding to the chemical shifts, so I will get this value. So 2 corresponding to 5.17, yes, I got that. Then 3.53 will give me like 3.53 should give me 1 only. Then 3.515 is again going to give me 1 only, and then this 2.00 is going to give me 6, and that is the value which was given to me in the question. So that's how I have solved the question, and that's how I approached towards it. So the correct answer for this should be your option number B, which tells that the molar ratio of A and B should be 4 is to 1. That means 4 moles of A and 1 mole of B. Okay, so that's how you have to approach, and that's how you have to solve this question. Alright guys, let's talk about this particular question which was asked in CSIR June 2019 exam, and this was asked for 4 marks. It was kind of a good question. It says that the IR table is given to you, or IR value is given to you as 1685 centimeter inverse. The proton NMR signals are given to you, and they are asking you, the chemical carbon NMR is also given to you. They are asking you that which compound is going to have this kind of a structure. Alright, so let's look upon this. First of all, a few things which are common in all the compound is that all of them contain ketone, so your IR is not going to help you over here. Second thing is that you have like all of them have either chlorine or bromine in the molecule, okay. So chlorine and bromine both are there in the molecule, so that is also there, okay. So two things are very common. The next thing which you can see, or which you can look for, is what I have discussed in the starting of this video. One question which we were taking from, which we have taken from December 2019. There I have said you that whenever you get doublet and 2 hydrogen, J is equals to 8 hertz, doublet 2 hydrogen, J is equals to 8 hertz, what does it tells you? It tells you that the molecule is para substituted. So this is the thing which you can first of all analyze from here, okay. So the molecule is para substituted, so you can easily cancel out your option number D. D is not going to be your answer in any way, okay. Now you have to look for the other things, okay, the other parts of the question. The other part given you like the other part which says that you have 3.65 triplet and J is equals to 7 hertz with 2 hydrogen, and 3.18 triplet, J is equals to 7 hertz 2 hydrogen, okay. So these, and one more is there, that is 2.25 pentate and J is equals to 7 hertz. So these are the three things which are given to you. So what does it tells you? It tells you that basically you have this kind of group, okay. So all these three corresponding to all these three things gives you an information that the group is like CH2, CH and CH2 and CH2, like this, okay. So the groups are like this. This is going to give you a triplet, this is going to give you a triplet, and this is going to give you a pentate, okay. And the chemical shifts now you have to analyze. This particular one is giving you 3.65. So this particular CH2 is basically attached to some electronegative group, okay. So some group should be there, either chlorine or bromine, okay, that we cannot say, but right now let's assume that it's chlorine or bromine, anything. All right, and this side the triplet one is having 3.18, so its chemical shift is quite lower, so I'm just writing here, okay. So it's 3.65, having high chemical shift because of the attachment directly with the electronegative group. Here this value is 3.18 because it might be attached to the carbonyl group. So that's the only option which you have. Now if you see the questions, so the only thing which you can have, or the only option, so with this you can cancel out your option number C, okay, because in option number C this is not directly attached, like CH2, CH2, CH2 is there, but it's not directly attached to some electronegative group, right? So you can just cancel out that. Now you are only left out with option number A and option number B. Now the chemical shifts value are going to help you to analyze this, alright. The only thing which will help you is the chemical shift. The chemical shift over here with CH2 triplet is 3.65. Now this particular value, that is 3.65, it's quite a higher value, okay. So 3.65 giving you triplet with your 2 hydrogen. So this basically will be only possible if this CH2 is going to be attached with more electronegative group, that is chlorine, than bromine, okay. So if it is attached to bromine, the value will not be 3.65, it will be around 3.5 or 3.4, okay, 3.48 or 3.52. So the value is quite higher, that is 3.65, that is because it is attached to a more electronegative group, that is chlorine, okay. So that's why the correct option for this comes out to be your option number A. The other way to justify it is through your mass spectrometry, okay. The fragmentation you can see, and you can just check out that how you are going to get this fragmentation. Now if you see here, the fragmentation which you are getting is 1:1, that means 200 and 198, that shows the presence of bromine. And the second fragmentation, which is 185 and 183, that also shows the presence of bromine. So they are talking about that fragment where bromine is present in the molecule. So let's fragment this out and see whether the bromine is present and is it satisfying this mass or not. Now let's try to look for this particular like molecule which was our expected answer. This was your option number A, and let's look for the fragmentation over here, okay. So you know that a particular molecule which has alpha, beta and gamma proton, it gives you McLafferty rearrangement, right? So that can happen in this case. So what will be the fragmentation over here? This alpha and beta bond generally breaks over here, this particular hydrogen goes with it, and you will have this double bond formed in this particular place. So the fragment which you are going to expect is going to have something like this: bromine over here, then this is the phenyl ring, and if you see here, you will be having OH and double bond, okay. So that's what you are going to have. The other fragment which you will be having will be like double bond and Cl. If you count the mass of this, okay, if you calculate the mass of this, you will see that you will have mass of 200 and the mass of 198. That's because you have bromine, that's why the intensity ratio is 1:1, okay. So you have got this according to the McLafferty rearrangement. So I have just shown you one of the product through your McLafferty rearrangement, alright. The other thing which can be possible over here will be like, I'll just draw the molecule once again. The same molecule, I have just drawn it in a different way right now. So here you can see that what I have shown is through this particular one. This is alpha and this is beta. I have shown you beta hydrogen in this case, okay. Now one more type of McLafferty rearrangement which is possible is movement of this hydrogen over here. This double bond will move in this side, and the bond with between this is going to break, okay. So this particular bond is going to break. So what fragment you are going to expect in this case is something like this, okay. The benzene ring will be here. Along with that, now this particular benzene ring has got reduced, so you have got 2 hydrogen here, you have got bromine here, and with it here you will be having double bond carbon and double bond O. Now this particular fragment, if you calculate the mass of it, you will get it as 183 and 185. Again, since bromine is here, so you will get 1:1 ratio of this. The second part of this again is going to be like double bond, and then you have 1 carbon, and then you have chlorine attached to that. So 1 2 3 carbon, 1 2 3 carbon, and then chlorine, right? So that's what happens in this case, okay. So that's how we have justified the options, and we have justified that how the McLafferty rearrangement is actually involved, and how it is showing you the correct option through the NMR which we have discussed. So the correct option for this particular question is your option number A, alright. So this is how you have to approach these types of question. Alright guys, let's look upon the next one then. Alright guys, let's look upon this particular question. It was pretty simple one. It was said that the number of proton NMR signals observed in the following compound is. To answer these types of question, you need to understand about the homotopicity, heterotopicity. Okay, these are the topics like you have distereotopic, you have enantiotopic hydrogens. So for that I have a separate video. If you have watched that, it's good. If you have not watched, I'll give you a link of that in the I button. You can click over there and you can watch that video. You will be understanding that how to analyze the topicity of the molecule or topicity of the hydrogens, how to analyze heterotopic, homotopic, distereotopic and enantiotopic hydrogens. Okay, so let's try to look for this. So first of all, here in this molecule, if you see, there is an axis which is going to pass through the molecule. So the molecule is having a C2 axis passing through it, okay, which is going to basically make these hydrogens. So if I call it hydrogen of type A, this will also become hydrogen of type A. Now since we don't have any hydrogen at this position because carbon has fulfilled its like valency, so these are the two types of hydrogen, like one type of hydrogen which we have got. If this is hydrogen of type B, this will also be of type B because that's how we will be having, because of the C2 axis, the things which are at 180 degree, just they are like having the same chemical environment. Then at the bridge position also you have two hydrogens, right, here and here. So these are going to be hydrogen of type C. Okay, so this is type C, this is also of type C. So you got three types of hydrogen, and during this particular process you again have two more types of hydrogen on this particular position. So these are going to be hydrogen of type D, and this is also going to be of type D. So overall in the molecule you have got four different types of hydrogen. That's how you have to count based upon difference in the chemical environment. Okay, so the correct option for this question should be your option number B, that is four types of hydrogen for the given molecule. Alright, so those are pretty simple. Let's look for the next question then. Alright guys, let's look upon this particular question which was asked in CSIR December 2018 exam, and this was asked for 4 marks, and this type of question was never asked in CSIR NET exam before. Why? Because here the partial spectroscopic data was given, okay, not the complete spectroscopic data, but yet the data was quite sufficient to analyze the answer. Okay, I'll tell you how to approach this type of question. First of all, go for there are three data which are given to you. They have given you carbon 13 NMR, they have given you proton NMR, they have given you IR data. Okay, all the three data are given to you. So go for the IR data to understand the functional group, because in the options you can see you have various different functional groups in the molecule. So the absorption band at 1725 centimeter inverse. Now 1725 centimeter inverse does not, if you look for the option number C, it does not, like, it has ketone. So 1724 is not for ketone. Okay, you know that for ketone the range is around 1705 centimeter inverse. Okay, that's the range which we have generally. So certainly option number C is not the correct answer. You can just cancel out, and rest of the options have ketone, rest of the options have esters in them. Now esters have a value of 1745 to 1750 centimeter inverse. Okay, now if it is a ester, then why the value is quite less? That's because it would be conjugated ester. Okay, so instead of normal ester, this is basically a conjugated ester. So a conjugated ester will have a value which is lower, so 1725 centimeter inverse, around that is going to be for a conjugated ester. So this IR band or this IR spectrum is going to tell you that the molecule has a conjugated ester. With the help of that, you can simply cancel out option number A, because here the ester is not conjugated with the benzene ring or with the phenyl ring. It's quite away from that, so that has got cancelled. And same goes for, if you go for option B and D, B option is conjugated with the phenyl ring, because the carbonyl, because this peak is because of the carbonyl peak, right? So the carbonyl bond is in conjugation with the benzene ring. Here the carbonyl bond is not in conjugation with that, it's quite away from that. So that's why you can just cancel out option number D also. But yeah, let's try to look for the next IR data, whether it also justifies the same or not. So see, two doublets, okay, between 6.8 to 8.5 in the proton NMR. Remember I told you two doublets, like you generally get it at 7.8 to hydrogen doublet, and J is equals to 8 hertz, and again like 7.62 hydrogen doublet, J is equals to 8 hertz, right? So this I told you that corresponds to the para substitution, and that's what it is. And 4 signals of the carbon NMR between these also tells you about the para substitution. So these two data, first and second, is telling you about para substituted product. Okay, so that also justifies option number B as the correct option. So option B is going to be the correct option. Just with the help of IR, you can basically find out the correct answer for this. So that's how we have to approach questions like this. So I hope this was pretty simple. You understood how we have done this, right? Okay, so let's look forward for the next question now. Alright, again we will take one more question from CSIR December 2018. Again, this was a 4-marker question, and again it was a very nice question. Okay, let's try to look forward and let's try to see how to solve it. It says the structure of the compound displaying the following characteristic spectral data. IR is given to you as 1720 centimeter inverse and the NMR are given to you. Alright, so to analyze it, first of all go with the IR data. Okay, 1720 centimeter inverse. I already told you just in the previous question we have seen that 1720 to 1725 is the range where we get due to the conjugated esters, and if you look for the options, you have most of the options having ester groups. Okay, so ester gives you a value at 1750, but conjugated ester has a little lower value. Is there any other option apart from the ester? So yes, you have option number D where you just have a ketone, and although this is a conjugated ketone, alpha beta unsaturated ketone. So these types of ketone gives you IR data at 1690 centimeter inverse. Okay, so this is not going to be the correct option. You can simply cancel out option number D. Okay, 1690 should be the range for that. So option number D can be simply cancelled out. Looking forward for option A, B and C. So this particular thing, they all are ester. They all have the ester groups as the functional group. So 1720 is for the conjugated ester. Now if you look for the options, it's not in conjugation in option number A, it's not in conjugation in option number C. So we are looking forward for the carbonyl group to be in conjugation. Okay, so that's there in option number B. You can see that carbonyl group is in conjugation in option number B. So simply with that you can go for option number B. Let's try and look forward for the NMR data, and let's try to analyze and see that whether it justifies it or not. Alright, so here if you see, you will be having two types of hydrogen over here, right? You have two hydrogens over here. Now this is CH3 group and this is CH2 group, and here again you have CH3 group. So let's try to write down the chemical shifts for them. So 3 hydrogen singlet and 2.0 chemical shift is going to be, so you have 3 hydrogen singlet here. Any other place where we have 3 hydrogen singlet? So here we have a 3 hydrogen triplet. Alright, 3 hydrogen singlet we don't have anywhere else. So the 3 hydrogen singlet correspond to this because it is attached to a carbon which does not have any hydrogen attached directly to it. So it is basically a 2.0 chemical shift and 3 hydrogen singlet. Okay, so I have written the value over here. For this hydrogen it is going to give you triplet because it is attached to CH2 group, right? So this is going to give you 3 hydrogen triplet and the chemical shift is going to be 1.1 ppm. Alright, this is going to give you a quartet, so that you are going to get here 2 hydrogen quartet, so 4.2 chemical shift you are going to get over here. Now you, apart from all these three, you have got two peaks. One is 6.2 broad singlet 1 hydrogen and 5.5 broad singlet 1 hydrogen. Now that is going to be the deciding factor, and that's going to help you to find out that which is going to be the correct option here. Now these two hydrogens which are actually present on the same carbon, they will give you different chemical shift. Why? Because this hydrogen is within the anisotropy of this carbonyl group. Okay, the carbonyl group will have a ring current around it, and this hydrogen comes in that ring current. Okay, and that is going to make this hydrogen little de-shielded, and that's why you are going to get a little downfield value of the chemical shift for this. So this is going to give you a peak at 6.2 ppm, whereas this one is going to give you at 5.5 ppm. Okay, so that's what is going to be the correct values and the correct analysis of the molecule. If you have no idea about anisotropy effect, if you have not studied that topic yet, I'll give the link of that. I have a video on anisotropic effect where I have explained all these things. We have taken more questions on that, so you can watch that video to understand what is anisotropic effect and how to solve questions related to that. Alright, so this is how we have to do. The correct option for this particular question was your option number D. Okay, let's look for the next question and see how to solve it out. Alright guys, let's try to look for this particular question which was asked in CSIR June 2018 exam. The question was asked for 4 marks, and let's try to see that how to solve it. The question says that a compound shows following spectral data. The proton and NMR data are given to you as 7.9 doublet J is equals to 8 Hertz 2 hydrogen, 6.6 doublet J is equals to 8 2 hydrogen, 4.3 quartet J is equals to 6 Hertz 2 hydrogen and 4 broad singlet 2 hydrogen D2O exchangeable. Then you have 1.4 triplet J is equals to 6 Hertz 3 hydrogen. Fine, the mass spectrum is also given to you, mass spectrometry data is also given to you. They are asking the correct structure. Now if you have seen the video from starting, you might have understood by now that whenever we get this particular thing for the two peaks, what does it tells you? It tells you that the molecule is para substituted. Okay, so para substituted can easily cancel out your option number 3 and 4. You can just cancel out those two. Only para substituted options are now 1 and 2. Now you have to look for, see, other peaks are not going to help you in any way. Okay, the only peak which will help you is the NH2 peak, the ammonia peak over here. Okay, now NH2 peak, how you are going to understand that which peak correspond to NH2? So it is already mentioned separately over here, the D2O exchangeable. See, there are two hydrogens which are generally D2O exchangeables. Either it is a ammonia hydrogen or the hydrogen on the nitrogen of the ammonia group, or a OH or hydroxyl group. Okay, so those two are D2O exchangeable. So here they are talking about the NH2 group. Now if you look for this, these are actually two different functional groups. Here it is aromatic NH2, and here the NH2 is attached on the, like, it is not amine group, or it's not amino group, it's a functional group called as amide. Okay, so this is amide, this is amine. If you look for the chemical shift table and if you see the values of this, this has a chemical shift range from 3 to 5 ppm, whereas it has a range of 5 to 9 ppm. Okay, remember this amide, okay, this whole is a amide, and amide has a very high chemical shift values, but the value over here given is just 4.0 ppm, so that does not comes under the amide range, that comes under the aromatic NH2 range, and that helps us to understand that the correct answer is option number 1. You can justify the answer if you want through the mass spectrometry as well, but I have not done so, and I hope you have understood how to approach it. Okay, so this is how this question has to be done, and it was pretty simple to go towards the correct option. So if you keep on practicing like this, it will be much easier for you to understand question, to grab the concept, and to go towards the correct answer much quickly, much easily. Alright, let's take the next question and let's try to see how to solve that. The next question here says that the number of signals observed in carbon 13 NMR spectrum. Okay, they are talking about carbon 13 NMR spectrum. Now this question, when it was asked in CSI NET exam, many people did mistake. Okay, I'll try to show you and I'll try to help you out that how you can go with this question very easily. First of all, draw this molecule in a different orientation. The other orientation which you can draw is this. Okay, you can draw the same molecule in this orientation. Alright, so you can just draw it in this orientation. So you have got C double bond O, C double bond O, and now you can just make this particular, yeah, so this is how I have made this molecule. Now you can see that there can be a plane which can be drawn for the molecule. The plane passes through like this. Okay, the plane contains these all carbons and it reflects the rest of them, making this carbon of type A, this also of type A. So we have got one type of carbon, this of type B, this also of type B. So you have got two types of carbon here. Okay, fine, this is of the third type of carbon. So this particular one will be the third type of carbon. The back side is of fourth type of carbon, back side is of fourth type of carbon. This is going to be fifth type of carbon. Okay, so E and F. So this is going to be fifth type of carbon and this is going to be sixth type of carbon. So in total for this particular molecule you have got 6 types of carbon in the given molecule. Alright, so you just have to orient the molecule a little bit and then try to look for it. Becomes much easier to approach or much easier to understand the number of carbons in the molecule. Alright, so this is how it has to be done. Well, that's it guys for this particular video. I hope whatever we have discussed, whatever questions we have done, it was much easier for you. You have understood it well. And if you are new to this channel, do subscribe to the channel. Do like the video if you like it. Share it with your friends. Comment if you have any questions. And here are my Facebook page and Instagram page link. So if you have not followed the channel yet on the Facebook and Instagram, just go over there and follow it. You can search for @chemoholic on both the places. Just make sure that you are putting double L over there. The name of that page is same, like All About Chemistry. Okay, so you'll get the pages and the same name. Alright, so like the page on Facebook and also follow me on the Instagram page. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this particular video. I hope this video was helpful to you. You guys understood it well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, have a great day. Bye bye.